Well, ever since the dawn of man, the idea of being competitive has been engraved pretty much anywhere. Sports, sports, board games, etc. And something as simple as the clunky party game was turned into a completely insane fast-paced and technical sport. Twice, well, I have a small hobby of playing weird and obscure Roblox games, and with recommended for you tab giving some very questionable games. So why exactly did I choose Bake the Baby of all games exactly? I just had the idea why I was playing it, but surely there are some aspects that will make it an esport, or at least something close to it, right? Well, I believe that this game has to be technical and or flashy. Yeah, I know it has to have a community, but I'm looking for that hook. I mean, what would fighting games be without their cast of characters and their unique moveset? Alright, this game. But there's still, I mean, screw it, as long as it's person vs person, you can turn anything to an esport at this point. Just strip everything away and make connecting to the internet an esport. I know I'm just joking, but I hate how I can actually imagine that. So about Bake the Baby. Basically there's two teams, one's the chefs and one's the baby. The chef's goal is to grab the baby and put them in a nearby microwave, and the baby's goal is to survive and can take the baby out of the microwave. It's basically the same concept as tag, but there's a little more to it. Babies have the advantage of a double jump that makes you lunge forward with a cooldown, with the cost of the baby having a get up animation and how you can just collapse and you'd have to wait a minute to get up. And they're extremely small, giving them the ability to crawl in vents and even hide in some areas, but they walk really loudly, so as long as you have your headphones on you have a pretty decent idea where the baby could be. And the chefs have the advantage of being faster. They both also have abilities too that you have to buy with coins, and it's annoying every time you forget. The chef has two speed abilities and he can use them, one being a boost and a dash. The baby's other abilities are invisibility, but you can still hear them and see dust particles, and you can heal yourself. I'll get more into that later. So the ability both the chef and the baby share is the radar, which is by far one of the best abilities for both sides. Keep in mind that you can only use two abilities, though if you're the baby the abilities are entirely useless with all the advantages I listed. Though the radar is pretty useful in some cases. For chefs it's very useful to use the radar during 1v1s due to how big the map is, but if you have more people and it's better off you swap it out for another movement option, with how chaotic the rounds can get, unless you're up against people who might actually be babies. Now before I get into the maps I wanna give you a brief summary of the lobby. I hate it. First of all, it takes you like 5 minutes to do anything other than quick play. Even in 2v2s or 1v1s you'll get someone who might be an actual baby in real life and ends up dropping their iPad through the window because their parents refuse to care for them, and they just stand there, 2 steps away, and they're just standing there. Eventually their parents get the iPad and shove it in their face again like nothing ever happened. So it's better just to play quick play or 1v1s. Also, let's just quickly go over the skins. We have 3 anti-per people skins. The Avatar Baby is worth $20. An Avatar Baby is worth the same price as Pizza Tower, a game that got nominated twice and it lost twice. This game sucks. So anyway, let's get to the skins you can't buy with Robux. We got a Dino 1 SE Baby, a Traffic Cone Baby, a Skibbity Toilet Baby, a Biker Baby, a Flamingo Baby, that's probably a developer. We got a Peter Baby, and a Show My Mean and a Show's P Baby, a Chicken Nugget, a 20-year-old man in a diaper, Baby Andrew Tate, and UHH. Oh no, something tells me that some of these people would fit more as the skin for the chef. Oh yeah, there's also DJ Khaled, Casso, and this PJ1 if you invite people, and you get one if you play for 7 days straight. Now let's get onto the map. Let's start off with The first map I've ever played and a pretty popular map too. The map features 2 mechanical doors to block each hallway. It's used to juke people out. But even if you block off both of them, there's still another way to get to the room via the freezer. In my first few playthroughs I didn't know that chefs could go through there and I freaked out. And there's a bathroom, a basement, a dining room, and a vent that sends you to the bathroom. The areas are pretty much unused in favor of the cool doors. The games are usually won by being the first one to go chef because just like a liberal arts student you're entirely useless. Since you're in an enclosed space your only move is to hide and juke, but you'll usually end up bumping into the other chef. So the thing you don't want to do is walk forward as the baby. It doesn't matter how many times you leap, they'll always catch up to you, even without abilities. Worst of all, the entire reason the places I mentioned are never used is because they're all dead ends that require you to leave yourself out in the open in hopes you can hide. The entire map limits your movements and is pretty much in favor of the chef. And remember when I mentioned the health kit? Well, it's used because you take damage from the vents to avoid camping. I really like the concept, but when it's placed in the most useless spot you can place it, it really ruins the entire point of the taking damage in vents. Sure, it's a fine spot, but it can literally be placed anywhere else and make the map a lot better to play. The map pretty much rewards you for hiding and camping out as the baby, and I don't really find that fun or interesting since it barely gives you the full potential of the baby's movement. It fixed a lot of the problems that Burger Place had on the map. There's a few dead ends and the map is still pretty enclosed, giving the babies less movement potential, but most places are in a loop which finally gives the babies an equal shot. There's a weird parkour segment, but it does give you a risk-reward situation where if you want you can either fall to your death or get a quick shortcut. I don't really have much to comment on it besides there's not a lot of interesting movement. It's mainly just trying to juke your opponent out and sometimes save people. It's not really fun to play on. I can finally talk about the best map in the game. This map really brings out the potential of this game. So the main problem I've had with both maps is that they're enclosed and it's one floor. So it doesn't really show the true potential of plunges or give you access to several flank routes. With how open this map is and how many shortcuts, flanks, and rollouts, it's a super fun map that gives both potential to win while being fun and chaotic. This is exactly what I expect when I microwave a baby. I think this is the map that not only shows so much potential but made me fall in love with the launch. So if you didn't notice in the background gunplay, there's a ton of places to fall to your death, more than Rooftop Cafe. This forces you to be precise with your movement or you die. Due to how the chef is always faster than you, this forces you to take risks with lunges and to avoid you being cooked. Chefs can also throw themselves in the river to kill you and the baby, which is pretty funny. I'd say the map is pretty balanced. I wish more maps were like it. Burger Place honestly just needs more loops and less hiding spots. It would also be pretty cool if you can go onto the roof and into the parking lot with more vents giving a shortcut to rooms. I don't want to make it too open because it's in a building. It would be pretty cool if there were cars that you can bounce off of. But yeah, that's pretty all I can think of besides changing the map entirely. This map is pretty much the most average map out of the three, but it's not really fun at all, so I think adding a bunch of jump pads, zip lines, and more vents. The buildings should be smaller and have more platform area to make it more open. I'd actually like to see a map like that. I do have a few ideas for more abilities. I know that I've been saying that I want more vents, but it's for a reason. I think it would be a good idea if we added some sort of escape ability that you can only use once per round. You'd be sacrificing your ability to go through vents most of the time and you'll have to rely on juking and movement even more than normal. I also think it would be cool if the baby had more moveset options in exchange for walk speed like a ground pound, or give you a new movement option in exchange for a downside. I also wish that the timer on the microwave gets slower the closer the chef is, to avoid camping. I also believe that chefs should get a small speed boost when there's about 10 seconds left, just to add more tension to the gunplay, but I'm not entirely sure how balanced or noticeable it'd be. Also, please give me the ability to get a streak saver every 10th win or something. But fantasizing about new features aside, Let's imagine the perfect round with the current Bake the Baby we have today. The year is 20XX. GamerCon got smellier. People have been playing Bake the Baby for years, and no matter how boring and tedious it got, they still dedicated their lives to engraving everything into their muscle memory. They know all the rollouts and flank routes. They've mastered the baby and the chef. Burger places and rooftop cafe is pretty much overshadowed by Mama's overseas. Due to how absolutely radical the map is, 3v3s are tournament standard. Chefs are required to work together and target one baby at a time in order to corner the baby and place him in the microwave. One of them camps the microwave or uses it as bait for the baby. Babies are required to know every rollout on the map in order to get as far away from the chefs as possible, and attempt to block off chefs with doors if they have a baby on them. Saving babies would be pretty much impossible. The meta abilities would be radar for both sides. All of chefs' abilities are pretty viable since they're speed boosts. And for babies, just use medkit since invisibility won't save you from the radar spam. I'd imagine the game would be fun to watch but end up pretty samey after a few months of watching. So does Bake the Baby have the ability to be competitively viable? Barely. But I'm sure with further updates it'll end up being pretty viable. Bake the Baby struggles a lot with how 2 of the 3 maps suck and how there's only 3 abilities for both baby and chef. Honestly, I looked into this game as a joke, but I actually see some glimmers of potential in this game, though I doubt that this would be an esport ironically. I'd still think with enough time this would be a pretty solid game if it works out all of its flaws and adds more things to make it more replayable. Thank you guys so much for at least watching a piece of this video. I'm sorry if it's all over the place. I wrote this script in a day and a half and the video took a few weeks to edit. It's my first time editing a video, but feel free to leave criticisms in the comments. I am planning to make a tournament to see if this game can be competitive. I don't fully have a plan yet, but I'll make a video when I have a concept of it.